We have a trio of senior writers here. David Dennis Jr. is beaming in. Mark Spears, Ramona Shelburne. I'm Malika Andrews. And to all the veterans out there that are watching, a very happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for your service to our country and continuing to serve. We had a packed weekend, though, of hoops, my friends. So what do you say we get started with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Golden State Warriors matching up here? Because the Warriors, they were looking to put their their blowout loss to the Cavaliers on Friday night and say night-night to the Thunder here. Steph Curry getting ready for this action here in Oklahoma City. This, though, was concerning. You see Chet Holmgren goes down in a heap here, holding on to that right hip. Never a good sign when trainers are pulling out the towel there. More on this injury coming up here in just a little bit. Chet Holmgren would have to exit with the help of his teammates, and he did not return. So let's pick this one up early in the third quarter. Steph Curry gets inside here for the little layup, plus the foul. So the Warriors up by 10 here. One more look. Steph Curry, corner three here. Now the Warriors are rolling up by 6.
That's pretty always ball out against them.
Yeah. He has
They did have that history.
Has a little history here. Steph Curry going to work, pulling up from deep here. Drains the three. A 17-point third quarter for Curry. Now the Thunder, they trail by 28 at the end of the third. That's their largest deficit of the season thus far. Fourth quarter, 3.5 to play. Warriors up by 8. Steph Curry comes off the pin down, nails the three here in this one.
Yeah.
A few minutes later, Curry gets it on the left wing. There it is.
Something about that gym. He liked that gym.
Look at Dort. Who does that to Dort? Nobody.
No, it was a night
even get his hands on
night for the Thunder as Steph does his famous celebration. He had 36 points, 7 of 13 from 3. Of course, though, the unfortunate headline of this game is Holmgren's injury. He posted this message to social media and signed it, "Thoughts from the hospital bed." He said, quote, "Can't tell if I feel better or worse about this, having been through something similar. I know what to do, what not to do, how beautiful the other side is. But on the other hand, I felt the frustration of this process before." So let's bring in our senior NBA insider, Shams Charania, for more on this. We hear from Chet that he's dealt with similar significant injuries in the past. Shams, what more can you tell us about what Chet is facing here?
Malika, this is a right iliac wing fracture in his hip area. It's a very rare injury, and the Thunder will reevaluate Holmgren in 2 to 2.5 months. The good news for the Thunder and for Holmgren, he will be back at some point this season. But if we know anything about the Thunder and how they've traditionally operated with injuries and return to play processes, they're going to be conservative. They're going to be careful with Chet Holmgren. We know he missed his entire rookie season. So 2.5 months at least for Chet Holmgren. Could it be longer than that? 100%. And in the meantime, they're going to have to learn how to be creative, play smaller, adaptive, because they're going to be without their star big man for at least the next few months.
Right, and they're already down Isaiah Hartenstein here, so they're going to have to get creative in those lineups. Shams, thank you so very much for that update. Please do not go too far. We have a couple more injuries that I want to check in with you on around the association. So the Warriors, though, let's go to the other side of this one. They've outscored their opponents by 119 points this season. That is the 5th time in franchise history they've outscored opponents by over 100 through 10 games. And if you're looking at history, they made the finals the other 4 times. It feels, though, like with the Warriors, we keep looking for benchmarks, right? Okay, They go into Boston. We're going to look at that game. All right, they're going into Cleveland. We're going to look at that game. Obviously, it was a blowout. And now Oklahoma City. David, you have been talking about this Warrior squad for a minute here. Is it time that we start saying can they, will they, won't they, and start to believe a little bit?
Absolutely. Last time I was here, I asked 2 questions. One is, why are we not looking at this team as a sleeper in the West? And 2, why is this team not considered to have a roster that's just as good as the roster they had in 2022? Now we have the answer. They're not just a sleeper in the West. They are legitimate contenders, and this roster is better than the one they had in 2022. And that is because of the versatility that they have in that lineup. And we saw it last night. We saw that when Holmgren went down and OKC goes that young, fast lineup, the Warriors benched Jackson, they sat Looney, and they went fast, and they carved up that defense with Steph Curry and Kuminga and all those guys who were just running up and down that third quarter. And now you have a situation where you come out of a gauntlet of these games with Boston and Cleveland and OKC, and you're 2-1 in those games, and you're looking forward at those standings. The Suns don't have Durant for a little bit. Holmgren does not have OKC for a couple months, and you can actually make some distance in that number 1 seed in the West.
Man, I want to hang out in David Dennis' room. It looks like you got a
know,
record
yeah,
player there, some
Looks like a good
incense.
time in your office.
Got some stuff going on there. Hey, strength in numbers is back for the Warriors, right? It's back. And Buddy Hield is balling. He's playing like a 6th Man of the Year candidate. But look, for you fantasy people, I'm giving you a tip. Pick up DeAnthony Melton. Probably one of the more underrated pickups for this offseason for any NBA team. I think he's going to be huge for him. But the Warriors' depth is a big reason why they've started so fast.
You know, I was just getting ready to come in here and say, I think, though, that at some point they have to pick a starting lineup.
Well, they kind of are settling in. Curry,
right?
Melton, Wiggins, Green, Jackson Davis.
And then Steve Kerr comes out and says at the end of the game, I really like this lineup, Anthony Melton in the starting lineup. Because they had started 6 different shooting guards in the 10 games.
Right.
And Melton gives them that two-way presence that a guy named Klay Thompson used to give them in that same spot. He plays defense. I thought he was really good on SGA and Jalen Williams and J-Dub last night. 10 rebounds from the guard spot, 3 steals. He gives them more of what Klay Thompson used to give them and hit 5 threes last night.
Right, because I think when we think about those Golden State Warriors teams that went to so many finals, you think about the offensive firepower, but their defensive prowess was really up there near the top of the league in all of those successful runs. All right, so that's the Golden State Warriors. Elsewhere, though, in the West, the reigning MVP Nikola Jokic, currently in the top 5 in points, rebounds, and assists, which is just silly. And Jokic and the Nuggets here hosting Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks in this one. Let's pick it up where things got good in the fourth quarter. A little bounce pass there to Doncic, drains the 3. And so now, 2-point game in the waning minutes. Picking it up with just under 2 to play.
Oh, Kyrie was cooking. Look at that length he shot over.
Pivoting. I think he called glass on that. Now Dallas up by 2. Denver going to work. Jokic sticks with it. Gets it back up and in. We're all knotted at 120 with just under 49 seconds remaining. So let's run the clock. Same score. Nuggets looking to get ahead here. Jamal Murray gives it up to Michael Porter Jr. Nice little push shot. Gets that one to go with 6.5 left. All right. Denver up by 2.
Kyrie
One
was
more
cooking,
chance
too.
here.
He was cooking.
He was, and you
Ran
get a
out of
little
gas.
nervous when
excellent
he takes a
defense by
shot like
Christian Brown.
that. Jokic, though, 37 points, 18 rebounds, 15 assists. Kyrie Irving had 43 points in the loss. Jokic has won, right, 3 of the past 4 MVP awards, but somehow
That's ridiculous.
he's even better. He's averaging nearly 30, 14, and 12. That's good for career highs in points and assists, and he's 0.1 away from being up in rebounds as well. This is a game, a season of runs, because it was just a few days ago we were asking, is it time to panic? Is it time to panic for what we're seeing in Denver? And now they've rattled off 5 straight wins behind what we've seen from Jokic. Is it possible, David, that we're taking what he does for granted?
You'd have to be crazy to take what he does for granted. I mean, this dude is doing something. Like, I know he's top 5 the last couple years in points, rebounds, and assists. I would not be surprised if by the end of this season, he's top 3 in all of those categories. And we have not seen that in 60 years since Wilt Chamberlain did it. And we know we always talk about when Wilt Chamberlain does something, it didn't count because back then. What do you say about now in 2024 when Jokic is doing these things? Since game 1, not only has he had those monumental numbers, he's been shooting 57% from the field and 58% from 3 since the first game. Like, these are video game numbers. If you're playing 2K, you would have to up the sliders because this just feels like so unreal. It's like the dude looked at the beginning of the season and said, we have some deficiencies. I'm going to go ahead and fill up all of them and fill up the stats in the meantime.
Malika, I think I was the one who said, is it time to panic? Because when you and I sat right over there in the cozy corner and talked about the Nuggets getting off to a slow start and having to go with this youth movement. And you know what we don't give Nikola Jokic enough credit for is his leadership. I mean, he's not known as a guy who barks and yells and says, but it's the way he just plays. Like, you don't hear him talking about, I might get traded. You don't hear him doing anything on the court that is disruptive. He flat out said to me when I asked him, do you worry about any of the free agents you guys have lost? And he goes, no, I'm just happy we have a chance to win every year. Like, this is the guy who sets the tone for this organization. And they've lost Aaron Gordon to injury. They lost Jamal Murray to injury. They just keep going because he keeps going.
I was there last night. Maybe the best passer the NBA's ever seen. just don't get tired of watching this guy. Just every game he plays the right way, and he just makes everybody better.
4 straight triple-doubles, not to mention he's shooting 56% on threes this season.
Stop it.
That is a cheat code if I've ever
Center.
seen it.
People are guarding him,
As a
too.
center, that's exactly right.
56%, they don't do it in practice.
4 straight triple-doubles, 5 straight wins for the Denver Nuggets. On the other side of this one, the schedule, it really only gets tougher here for the Dallas Mavericks. They place.
Yep.
Got it.
The Golden State Warriors on Tuesday. Let's take a listen to Klay Thompson on his impending return to the Bay.
Be good to see people that you grinded with, obviously, but to me, it's just another regular season game in November. Obviously, there's bigger implications with the NBA Cup, so that's what's on our mind. In my mind, is just to win that because I haven't been a part of it yet. I know it's young, but it'd be fun to play for that title.
So Klay says it's just another game. You were there, though, Mr. Spears.
Yeah.
Is that what you were hearing?
You know, you got that friend that said, man, I ain't tripping. Man, I'm good. That's Klay right now. He ain't tripping. He good, but he not. I felt like he's holding a lot of stuff in.
Yeah.
He said that this chapter is over. That it's not a big game. He's moving on. He told me there's no point in looking back. I asked him, hey, have you talked to Draymond? Have you talked to Steph? No. I'll see him at the game. So I think there's a lot of hurt feelings. Klay's probably too tough a guy to let it out, especially now. Maybe this game is coming too early. But yeah, I think he's gonna his reaction that whole game tomorrow is gonna be very, very curious.
I mean, his eyes, his face, his demeanor, that was telling a different story than what he was saying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you saw he had a mean mug on. His eyes were down. He was almost speaking it into existence. But the truth is, both sides were ready to move on. I think the Warriors were ready to move on.
Agreed.
Klay was ready to move on. Needed that fresh start. I remember doing a story when he left as a free agent, and Joe Lacob took him to play golf, out here in LA. And this was kind of maybe the last dance of the owner showing him, hey, I care enough about you to take you to play golf. They had 18 holes to talk about his free agency and extending there. And they didn't talk about it at all. They just played golf. And that was kind of all that needed to be said, which was not said. They were done. Both sides were done.
Real quick, I asked him, what's the thing you miss about the most in the Bay? He said the ocean.
Yeah. Well, then maybe it's fitting that Golden State is doing the salute to Captain Klay and giving everybody their hats to salute to Captain Klay.
He's not even going to drive his boat to the game.
I hope it's cathartic for him because just because you're ready for a breakup to happen, it doesn't mean it isn't hard to go and face it when it does. And that's something that I think all of us have to have a little bit of empathy for as he's going through this. It's going to be a huge game in the Bay on Tuesday. Still to come on NBA. That one in Crypto.com Arena. LeBron, his chalk toss as he does before every single game. Let's pick this one up in the second quarter with the Lakers down 41-34. Anthony Davis.
Who was in that poster? Who was under there?
Big slam. Oh, my goodness. Slam for Anthony Davis. The Lakers down by 5 now, going ahead to the third quarter. The beginning of the third, Lakers down by 5 still here. Anthony Davis finds LeBron James, who soars in for the two-handed slam. Lakers down by 3.
Get that baseline. Like, come on, man.
8 minutes left in the third. Anthony Davis pulls up for 3.
Getting out of the way.
He's been hitting those here. And then watch AD inside here. He comes up with an enormous block. I was in the building. The arena went crazy, but AD stays down on the ground, clearly in a lot of pain here. He would stay down here for several minutes. It turned out he took a poke to the eye from Jakob Poeltl, and he would exit and did not return to this game.
Same eye as he was out with last year.
That is correct. So going ahead to the fourth quarter, just under 4 minutes left in the fourth. The Lakers up now. RJ Barrett blocked by Rui Hachimura. Austin Reeves, full outlet pass to LeBron, who lays it in. The Lakers go on to win 123-101. Back-to-back triple-doubles for LeBron. Here he is on putting in the time this season.
I've been blessed by the man above with some out of this world ability from the beginning, and then I just took full advantage of it, and I wasn't going to disrespect what he's given me, and let's see how long I can do it. But I won't do it till the wheels fall off. I tell you that. I won't do that. I won't be one of those guys. Appreciate it.
Well, in these last two Lakers wins, LeBron became the oldest player in NBA history with consecutive triple-doubles. Of course, he's just over a month away from turning 40. But the other storyline we're following coming out of this one is the health of Anthony Davis with that poke to the eye. So Shams is back here with us now. Shams, what more can you tell us about the extent of this injury?
Malika, I'm told Anthony Davis is actually walking into a doctor's exam as we speak as far as to evaluate that eye of his. This is the same eye that he had an issue with last season, but there is some hope that this is not a major issue, that this is a precautionary visit to the doctor, and who knows, could goggles, some sort of eye protection be in Anthony Davis's future? That obviously is a question. I'm told there's a chance he could have returned to the game last night, just depending on the circumstances, but obviously the Lakers went on a little bit of a run there, and now Anthony Davis is getting an exam as we speak.
Yeah, he had that corneal abrasion, as you mentioned, in the same eye last March. So keeping an eye on this one, if you will. I didn't even mean for that pun
I see
to
what
come
you
in.
did.
Shams, though, while we have you here, unfortunately, there were a rash of injuries these past couple of days. So I'd love to get a couple of updates from you if we could. And let's start with Zion Williamson here. What is his status?
Zion Williamson will be out for several weeks, I'm told. This is an injury that Pelicans are bracing for him to be out about 4 to 6 weeks. And his return will be based on rehab and how that treatment goes on that hamstring strain. We know the Pelicans with Zion Williamson, they said indefinitely. We know that they are not sure yet exactly how long this rehab is going to take for him. And this is devastating for a Pelicans team that's been ravaged by injuries all season. And Zion Williamson himself, he was the lightest he's ever been in his career. He's been playing well this season, and this is a devastating injury so early in the year for him. He's played in under 50% of NBA games since being drafted #1 overall in 2019.
Yeah, that's just a bummer for Pelicans fans. A couple of weeks here still for Zion Williamson. How about the Suns, though? They played without Kevin Durant last night in Sacramento. When are the Suns expecting his return?
Left calf strain, the same calf that he also injured over the offseason for USA Basketball. I'm told the Suns are expecting this to be a 2 to 3 week injury for Kevin Durant. It could be longer, just depends on how his rehab goes, how he's feeling. They're not going to rush him back. This is an injury they're going to be cautious with. He's going to do his due diligence in rehab, take his time. He led this team to an 8-1 start before the injury, first place in the Western Conference. He's been on an MVP caliber start to the season. So he's on the shelf now for at least the next couple weeks.
Okay, 2 to 3 weeks here at least for Kevin Durant. Shams, thank you so much for stopping by with those updates. Let's time now to go coast to coast around the association. First stop. How about with the Sacramento Kings? Because DeMar DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox combined for 16 points in overtime to beat the aforementioned Suns. It was the first loss for Phoenix in clutch time this season. Mark, what is this Suns team without Kevin Durant?
In trouble. Bradley Beal's picking it up, though. I feel bad for Kevin because he had such an amazing start, MVP caliber start, and it's a long season, though. He'll be back.
Yep, it is a long season. The Phoenix Suns, they face the Utah Jazz tomorrow in the NBA Cup. Next up, the Grizzlies. They've won their last 2 games without John Morant. Zach Edey coming off the bench. Ramona, should we be excited? Should we temper expectations? How should we feel about Memphis?
I think you should be really excited about Memphis because they've redefined their offensive identity. 60 points in the paint a game. That's first in the NBA. 30 assists a game. That's second in the NBA. They're rolling, they're running here. And I think this continues with or without John Morant for a little while. They need him back eventually.
Absolutely. All right. Finally, Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin combined for 73 points in a Pacers victory over the Knicks. David, are the Pacers starting to turn the corner to be a threat in the East?
I think so. I think they can cause a few headaches for some of these teams. There's a lot of talk about how they got to the Eastern Conference Finals and the injury luck that got them there. But there's something to be said about the experience of going that far in the playoffs to outscore the Knicks by 13 points in that fourth quarter and really rally in the last 5 minutes. They did the same thing to keep the lead against the Celtics last week. This team is tested in these clutch moments.
Well, the Knicks bench, they've scored the fewest points and played the fewest minutes per game this season by a wide margin. They scored almost 4 fewer points than any other team, about 3 times fewer, by the way, than the Golden State Warriors, if you're putting that in perspective. The Knicks have used the same starting 5 every game this season, and they're still under 500. So, Mark, stop me if you've heard me ask this before. Is this Tom Thibodeau-led team playing its starters too many minutes?
I have heard that before.
Yeah, maybe a couple times.
Yeah, he has to.
It sounds like a butt's coming.
Yeah, but New York, calm down.
Okay.
It's early. There's just been so many changes with this roster that I think you got to give them some time. This ain't the NFL. Relax.
Okay.
They'll be all right.
You know what? There's something comforting about when Mr. Spears says relax.
That's right.
I'm going to just relax.
Don't do it.
Exactly. All right, we got a lot to get to on our jam-packed show here. Coming up, my goodness, the Milwaukee Bucks need to get a win. And it doesn't get easier when you're playing a Sunday afternoon early tip-off against the defending champs. But let's check in on this one. All right, so watch Giannis right here. Slams it down. That's pretty tough to defend there. Giannis, full head of steam. But then watch this here. So Giannis called for an offensive foul, does a little fake on the handshake. Here's what Jaylen Brown thought of that.
Ooh, that was no.
Giannis is a child. You know, I'm just focused on helping my team get a win.
Well, he said I was a child.
Giannis is a child. I'm just focused on helping my team get a win, and that's what we did.
This is who I am. I play the game with fun, joy. If I have another opportunity, I'll do it again.
What do you think of that, Ramona?
I mean, I don't think it's a good look for Giannis when your team is 2-8 and you just elbow the guy in the face.
And he says he would do it again. All right, here's Giannis. This one, though, Brown comes in, commits the hard foul. Upon review, that would be a flagrant. Giannis giving a perplexed look there to Brown afterwards. And then a few possessions later here, Tatum can't quite get that to go. Another opportunity. An easy 3 there. And then the game on the ropes here. Drew Holiday, who knows these rims well, kicks it back out to Tatum. That 3 would be the dagger. Tatum finished with 31 points. The Celtics win. Let's take a listen to Doc Rivers.
Well, we just got to dig ourselves out of this hole that we're creating. We created it, all of us, me, them, together. I have no doubt we will. But it's not one night. If we had won the night, we still weren't going to be in the hole. You know, we have to play ourselves out of this hole.
Yes, they do, because they've dropped to 2-8. That's their worst 10-game start since Giannis's rookie year, all the way back in 2013-14 when Milwaukee also started at 2-8, but they finished at 15-67, and those expectations were not these expectations. So we got dad jokes gone wrong, an 11-point lead at halftime erased, all while Giannis is still putting up really big numbers, actually. David, what are you diagnosing as the Bucks' biggest issue here?
The biggest issue is that in the history of these teams, when you have superstars that come together, they have to make championship adjustments to go to that next level. D-Wade did it for LeBron. LeBron did it with Kyrie. Steph did it with KD. And the thing is, Giannis and Dame have not made the championship adjustments. There's no excuse that these guys have not been running the league with the pick and roll offense. They have not figured out how to do that together. But also Dame Lillard has not made the adjustment to be better defensively. He's playing some of the worst defense that we've seen. As soon as he got on the court at the fourth quarter with 6 minutes left, Boston went right at him. They immediately had Jaylen Brown put him in the post and he got a foul. They immediately had Tatum post him up and he had a wide open after Dame Lillard flopped, as you can see there. And then that led to a wide open 3 and they feasted on Dame for the rest of that game, which a lot of teams are doing. They are signaling him out the entire time. And the Bucks, their calling card has been defense. Dame was a minus 14 yesterday, and a central part was why that team fell apart in the fourth quarter.
You know, we always want to talk about Dame and Giannis and when is Chris Middleton going to come back.
Which is a fair question.
When are we going to talk about Brook Lopez?
Also true.
Where has he been? Brook Lopez is averaging 9 points a game. He better than that. Under 30% from the field goal range, under 40% from field goal range, under 30 from 3. They need a boost from him as well.
I just think it's perimeter defense too. I mean, David, you're talking about their defense with Dame, but they put Andre Jackson into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Played 18 minutes in the first half, and they sagged off him so much that you couldn't even play him in the second half. But Andre gives them at least some perimeter defense. And I think some of it is just, look, there's that man, Drew Holiday. That was their perimeter defense before.
Right.
And I think we keep looking back on that trade
as sort of,
that is the turning point in the Eastern Conference for maybe the next few years.
Right. And I think for the Milwaukee Bucks, for several teams in the Eastern Conference, one of their saving graces is that really there's only 2 teams that are taking care of business with above 500 records right now in the Eastern Conference. And everyone else is sort of trying to figure things out a little bit, including the Philadelphia 76ers, who, as we check in on them now, looking for their first home win of the season over the weekend as they host the Hornets in this one. Remember, no Tyrese Maxey in this game. 10 seconds left in the fourth. Hornets down by 3. LaMelo Ball hits that tough fadeaway in the corner for 3. Let's take a listen to how it sounded from the legendary Eric Collins on the Hornets broadcast.
LaMelo! Yes! With the guts of a cat burglar, we're tied at 97!
Eric, can you call all of my life things, please? My goodness. Final seconds here. Tied score. Paul George goes for the win. Can't quite get it to go. So to overtime we go. But remember, Paul George, still coming back from injury, is on a minutes restriction. So in overtime, we would not see Paul George, Ramona, as LaMelo drives all the way in and gets that one to go and one.
That's okay. They got Yabusele and McCain.
Sure. And here's McCain right here.
Hey, Rook.
He's having a good run until he's
Philadelphia escapes by 2 with no Paul George playing in overtime. Over the last 2 seasons, the Sixers have been better than the Celtics with Embiid on the court, but worse than the Jazz, by the way, when he's not in the lineup.
Utah's like, where'd I come in?
Yeah, sorry, Jazz.
Jeez. Wasn't bothering nobody.
But now we have we have Joel Embiid on his way back here. What can we expect? How quickly, Ramona, can the Sixers turn this around?
He's going to be on a minutes restriction too. You mentioned Paul George not playing in overtime because of a minutes restriction. You could expect the same thing with Joel Embiid coming back after he's taken his time to get back, and then the 3-game suspension. But we go now back from the process to processing. So at least he's back on the court. At least they now have 2 of the 3 stars. Tyrese Maxey's still going to be out with that hamstring, but he spaces the floor. He's an offense in and of himself, and whatever he can give them will help.
But given what we've seen from Paul George, we should expect a minutes restriction for him?
Absolutely. And the only question is how much is that going to be? I mean, they may not announce exactly how many minutes it is, but I don't expect him to play 40 minutes right off the gate.
All right.
It seems like we're saying the same tune every year with injuries, right? The beginning of the season, there's always all these injuries. Why? A long-time NBA head coach, assistant coach, former NBA player, told me, he's like, it's training camp. It's too short. They need to make training camps longer again. These guys need to take preseason more serious. There need to be more two-a-days. And he feels like because it's so short now, once the season starts and you're going 100 miles and running, players are more susceptible to injuries, and that's why we're seeing all this right now.
David, last word on this?
I'm going to channel Mark here and say a little bit of relax for this Philadelphia situation here. And the fact is, the saving grace here for Philadelphia is the rest of the East has underperformed. When the season started, we'd say, man, hopefully this Philadelphia team will maybe be the 3rd or 4th team in the East in the regular season. And as soon as Embiid comes back, they could be that because of the way the Knicks have played and Milwaukee has played and all that stuff. If Embiid comes back and they get to that 38 and 31-8 clip that you just showed, they're right back in the mix. And if a fully healthy Philadelphia team, I don't see being much worse than a 3rd seed or a 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference, which is right where you wanted them when the season started.
But you know the key 4 words you just said there. Fully healthy Philadelphia team. The fully healthy piece is what we still need to see. Joel Embiid, though, on his way back. We will get to see him on Tuesday, as Shams reported. And for NBA fans everywhere, I am so excited to finally be able to see him on the floor. Yeah,
he couldn't even go to the games while he was suspended.
And so we're excited to see him be able to play. You know who has not had any rust, though? The Cleveland Cavaliers.
And compassion and respect for those who've served. I know people personally who've served, and a lot goes on that we don't know about. It's all for the greater good of us, and to allow us to live our lives every day without that pressure and that stress. So, much love to all those who served and respect.
Friends, this weekend it was jam-packed with unbelievable plays. So let's dust off one of our favorite games. A little this, a little bit of that. Ramona, I'm going to start with you. Which was more impressive from Wemby on Saturday? He had 7 blocks or his career high 6 threes?
I'm going to go with the 7 blocks because every time Wemby blocks people's shots, it just changes how people play offense against him. Like, you have to think about him everywhere you go. And I think, they got Devin Vassell back, so he don't need to make all those threes.
He's been practicing those.
Yeah.
Mark, but look at these blocks.
I mean, come on.
Those are just, he sticks with it, comes back up.
What?
It's insane. All right, Mark, I got one for you.
All right.
Who had the better pass, right? We got Luka Doncic, who throws this full court dime to Klay Thompson on the break here.
That was crazy.
Which is nuts. Or we got Yuki Kawamura behind the back dime here.
I'm going with the rookie from Japan. Come on, man. The dude's like 4'2", playing in the NBA, balling, making Ja excited on a nightly basis. Let's go with the rook.
We do see a lot of those Luka Magic passes. The one from the rook is pretty nice.
Taking it for granted.
All right, David, you're up. I got 2 game-saving blocks for you, my friend. I got Cade Cunningham blocking Onyeka Okongwu to win the game. Or how about Evan Mobley's block on Cam Johnson to help the Cavs stay undefeated? Oh my goodness.
I mean,
I'm going with Cade Cunningham because he started right before that with a left-handed layup to put them up and a right-handed block to save the game. It was an ambidextrous game-saving move from Cade.
An ambidextrous block that moves it up in points. All right, how about this one, Ramona? Did you see the end of the Heat Wolves game?
Yes.
The Heat took the lead with this Nikola Jovic and one. Brilliant inbounds play from Eric Spoelstra, by the way. But then check this out. You got 3.7 seconds on the clock. You have Ant inbounding the ball here?
What?
Confusion for the Wolves who end up.
What's happening?
Do you credit the Heat here? Do you blame the Wolves? Where do you fall?
I mean, I want to blame the Wolves, but the Heat gets its first win in Minnesota in 7 years. And this ATO that Eric Spoelstra drew up is brilliant. Like, it is, they're at half court. Usually you're near the basket. Everybody's on the other side of the court. They run an action and Jovic is totally.
Defenders out there, you gave an effort. But it feels like we've had a lot of posters this season, some good ones. We're going top of the top, our 5 best posters of the season. We're starting with friend of the show, Brandon Miller.
This one hurt.
Yeah, this one on the Rockets. Ooh! He did tell me this isn't his favorite dunk of the season, though. But it's up there. I mean, look at that one, DDJ.
The whole team, felt like the whole team was under there getting dunked on. My goodness.
John Collins, usually, I mean, when your nickname is John the Baptist, it's for.
Is that kind of like the one that Anthony Edwards? No, I'm not going to say.
Do you get as much credit for dunking on a guard?
Oh.
I don't know.
I think when it's a dunk like that,
That's a dunk.
credit where credit's
His
due.
elbow was out.
But
too,
how
right?
about this? Here, you want a guard? I will give you a guard.
Yeah.
Okay, 6'7".
Don't do Rudy like this.
6'7"
Why you
guard.
doing Rudy like? Why are you doing Rudy like that?
I'm just saying it's on Rudy. It's not.
You're
so much,
right, you're right.
He's
He
more
just
of a.
kept
And it was
elevating.
a hybrid, but
It's like he jumped the second time
I'll
in the
give you
air.
smaller on bigger. How's that?
Okay.
He went
That's right.
higher
Not
though.
quite guard, but
He did go
a
higher.
little closer. How about
He
this
knew
one?
it too. He went right at Udi afterwards.
This one, what, you're picking on someone your own size, Giannis, and he dunked all over Vooch.
Yeah. I know, poor Vooch.
But that's also just like a Tuesday.
He's
for
trying to
him,
draw the foul
right?
too. Look at him. He's like, that's a foul.
He walks through the air.
After that, you can do this.
Yeah,
That's when you can do
exactly
this
right.
after that.
So what had happened was, number one, though, Jalen Green takes the top
This is number
spot.
2 dunking over number 1 in that draft class.
This is vicious. And maybe there was a little bit behind it. Cocked it all the way back.
Old USA basketball, youth teammates, and go look at some of the old footage. I think it was a get back there.
Yeah.
Chewing on his mouthpiece afterwards, yeah.
Well, on
That's what he does.
this one, it belongs on a poster, though, right? Can you see a young Rockets fan, Shanae Agumike, with this up on her wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like them 2 guys are balling now, though. They're finally arriving.
Yeah. That was quite something.
Is that how it happens?
All right. Well, those may have been the best posters of the season, but how about the best team? It's time to go in the bonus on how the Cavs improved to 11-0 on Saturday. They overcame a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat the Nets. That's the largest comeback by a team that's entered 10-0 or better in the last 25 years. Now, the Cavs became the 12th team in NBA history to win their first 11 games. They're now 5 wins away from the second longest win streak to start a season. The Warriors, of course, own the best when they went 24-0 to start 2015-16. So take a look at this. This is with the schedule that the Cavaliers are facing. Their next 4 games are against Eastern teams that are under 500. Okay, that means if they take care of business, that game that would give them the second best start ever would be against who? The Boston Celtics.
Oh, it's almost like we drew it up like that.
We could be gearing up for a huge showdown in this one, right? Woo! And what's noteworthy, Ramona, too, is the Cavs are doing this all with the same roster they're running it back with, just with Kenny Atkinson at the helm here. What do you think's the biggest difference for this Cavaliers team versus last year?
I mean, I think it's Evan Mobley. He's just taken that proverbial leap forward. And you know, when they interviewed the coaches for this position in the offseason, they wanted to know what Kenny Atkinson's plan was for Evan Mobley and all the other guys they interviewed. And he had the best plan to integrate him both offensively and defensively in a featured way. And I think you can just see how much more comfortable he is out there because they're running plays for him. They're getting him involved early and often, and he's affecting the court on both sides of the court.
Look, I'm with Ramona here. I know we were talking about Wemby and just penciling him in for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not so sure that Evan Mobley is that far behind. He's anchoring what is a truly devastating defense there in Cleveland. And I would not be surprised if he steals more than just a few of those votes and even overtakes Wemby when the season is all said and done.
Health. These guys are healthy. Their lack of health in the playoffs destroyed them. We won't know what they could have been. But they're healthy now. That's what I like about this team.
And that's a huge part, certainly, for the Cavaliers. We're talking about an 11-0 start to the season for Cleveland. Yeah. They have 4 more games until they face the Celtics on November 19th. On any given night in the NBA, anybody can beat anybody. But at a certain point, you go into these games. We heard Bob Myers talk about it on our air, that one time he was congratulated by an opposing general manager when they were in the middle of their 24-0 streak. Yeah. And he said, for what? He didn't even realize at that point it's because, they won the game. They're just so used to that at this point. Do you think we're going to get to the point where this is the Celtics that could be the team that we're asking whether or not they're going to break their streak?
I think we get there. I think that November 19th game is an undefeated team against the Celtics. And Mark, you and I both covered that Warriors team that went 24-0. That's the team that came back. That's the second year of the Warriors dynasty, right? That was one where they improved upon what they had done the year before. That was Luke Walton as the head coach for most of that. Steve Kerr was out with the back issue. And that streak, they had a swagger to them and it grew throughout that streak. They were like, nobody is going to beat us. We are setting the tone for the entire season. Yeah. And I see that with those Cavaliers.
And I like that the game's in Boston, too.
Yeah.
Make a statement.
Right.
That's if you're going to make a statement, make one in
They still have 4 more games, David, until that point. For you, when you're watching the Cavaliers, do you think it's going to make it that far?
I think it will make it that far, and also just as important, even if they lose to Boston on next Tuesday, the rest of their schedule in November is pretty light. They may get to December 1st with just 1 loss.
Which would be pretty impressive. And that swagger you're talking about for a young team that's looking to improve on a disappointing end to their playoffs last year, that's something that they can really build on. That's going to do it for us here on NBA Today.
Thank you for watching so far. Leave your comment below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any detail. A hug and see you next time.